Hello, Natroners, and welcome back to another episode of VFX with Natron. So, today we're going to be doing something requested by this fella named Martin Levi. I wonder if he's related to the fellas that made the jeans, you know, the pants, depending on where you are, the trousers. I don't know. Anyway, he wanted to know, he was looking at this Nuke tutorial on making a font right to the, taking typewritten fonts, that we've done millions of, and turning it so that it across the screen using a Roto node. And since we're doing Roto node stuff at this point in time, and by the way, I do want to just a time out, yeah, time out isn't this way, time out this way. Just a side note, we are not the whole pirate map thing. I'm sure a couple of people are like, you just sort of left it sitting up in the air, Pirate Bill. What's going on? Well, the problem is, I shouldn't say the problem. The thing about the pirate map is that it's supposed to be sort of an ongoing filler thing, and I'm still doing it to along the way and showing it as we go. But the problem is of course, people want to know things, and so they request things. And I always try, or the vast majority of the time, I try to do, our seasonal stuff, that's relative to holidays or special events and stuff. And I also like to try to get back, at least, especially to the people who are on Facebook. I want to try and get back and do those tutorials and stuff, and I got some requests from YouTube for all you YouTubers who are saying, "Wait a minute, it ain't fair. You're doing the Facebook post. I want to do one from YouTube. I've responded, and you said you would. Anyway, I plan on doing some stuff for YouTube, and there's all this stuff. I also want to bring up that there's stuff that I haven't addressed that has been requested from long ago, that I eventually want to get to, but due to circumstances that are going on in the world, it's not exactly the best time for me to get out and get the right type of thing to footage and stuff to do some of the stuff that's been requested. So and I want to do those types of things properly. So anyway, today's thing was again making a font right to the screen. Okay, and it's based off of a Nuke tutorial. So let's see what our hopeful end goal of today is going to be. Although we may not do the texture, this is just thrown together. Again, this was a short video or a short notice, because last week's ended up being 2 episodes. So this week we, just to get those out, I had to use last week's, which would have been this Wednesday's YouTube video, as as the end of the last week's tutorial for Valentine's Day, so it was out before Valentine's. So I'm doing an extra video this week or an extra video for Facebook this week. It'll be regular time on YouTube to compensate for that. So I'm trying to keep this lighter, so I didn't have as much time to do this, so we may not get to doing the texture because I wasn't super duper crazy. Anyway, today's goal. All right, so we're over here in Natron, and of course we need to start off with text. So what's our text going to be? We're going to create a text node. We're going to hit tab, text, text. Wait a minute, not test. I'll keep typing test, T-E-S. This is because, I'm a pirate. I got stuck at sea for years, so I screwed up the joke. Never mind. I can't even tell a joke on my own show. All right. Anyway. Oh, I'm bad. This is terrible. Horrible. Yes. The joke was, why doesn't a pirate, know the alphabet or know how to spell? Well, because he got stuck at sea for years. Anyway. Bad joke. Natron is our text for this, and we're going to make the font. I think I made it 350, so we'll make it nice, big 350. Whoop, I don't know if people can see that. Making the font size 350. Hit return. Oh yes, and we're not using Arial. I'm using Sego script, which is this. Actually, 350 is too big. We're going to bring it back down to 300. Yeah, that's good enough. All right. So, whoa, zoomed in by accident. All right, so there we go. That's what we're going to be working with. And we're going to be all right. The effect is achieved using a Roto node, or Roto Paint. It's actually, we're going to use two different things. We're going to use a Roto Paint for part of it, and we're going to use a Roto node for another part of it. So we're going to first start with Roto Paint. All right, so we go to Roto Paint and we put it in here, and we'll leave it where it is right now, because we've got some issues here. First of all, let's talk about the things that don't work. One of the things that a lot of people might do at first is they may sit there and they say, okay, well, we have the Roto Paint, and of course, Roto Paint defaults to having this lovely little, having the pencil tool. And the way this worked in the Nuke tutorial was they basically changed the stroke size. If we take this wheel, we can't change the stroke size yet because we don't have an actual stroke, so we actually would have to draw something. And before we draw it, we actually probably want to dim this down. So what we're going to do is take our font color down to about half its value so that we can actually see the strokes on top of the thing. So all I did is I dropped the value down to 0.5. And now what we would do, what somebody might do, and by the way, this is wrong. I'm showing why this is going to be wrong in a minute. A lot of people would think, oh, well, this is a freehand draw tool. It's a pencil tool. We'll go drawing up like this, and then we draw down like that, and then we draw up like this, or something along those lines, and then you might go, okay, there we go. And of course, we need to make a second stroke, so we go over here, we click on this, and then we go back and we draw our second stroke, which would make a different thing. And I'm not doing this very carefully because I know this is going to break in a few minutes. And then we'd say, okay, click on this, and then we click on this, and we do our third stroke, and then or third and maybe fourth stroke if we want to do that. And then I'm very sloppy, not even attempting to get this right, because I know for a fact we're going to run into a problem. We have all these individual strokes, and you say to yourself, okay, well, we got the strokes. Now all we had to do is, stroke one was the N, and we take this brush size, set the brush size up to 35, and we can increase the hardness up to like 8, so that it's nice and big. It's not quite, might have to, for this one, because it was so sloppy, increase it even further than that. You just got to get it bigger than whatever. And then the idea would be that we would start off in time somewhere, and we would set the visible start position for this particular brush stroke to 0. Of course, set a keyframe, right? And then we go forward. Let's just go forward one frame, and suddenly everything ought to become obvious. All of a sudden, we go forward a frame, and what happened to all our strokes? Sure, we expected to lose the other stroke, but all our other strokes disappeared as well. What's going on, Pirate Bill? That's not working. Why not? Well, this is one of the problems with Natron, is that the Roto Paint node, or when you're actually painting brush strokes, the Roto Paint node, to my knowledge, does not have the ability to carry your stroke, or carry what you're drawing over from the previous frame to the next frame. So, or at least it's not in the node itself. There's a way that we can make a stroke or a series of strokes work. But what you have to do is basically in this, what we would have to do is I would have to go up and redraw this a second time. You know, you can see I just drew another brushstroke on this. Or actually, I drew a totally new one, but it's on the next frame. And we can see that when we went from the previous frame to the next frame, we can see that every frame, these brushstrokes change. They alternate. They don't stay there. And this works different than, as to my knowledge, than in Nuke, at least as far as this part goes. All right. So obviously we don't want to use these paint strokes. Paint strokes like this don't work. And just so you know how we, you know, we can set it to any length we want, but it doesn't do us any good. So here's the thing, somebody says to themselves, okay, well, how do you make it last if it disappears? Well, you would use a frame hold. Frame hold to if I put a frame hold here, set the frame to 1, and then when I go forward in time, it's going to stay there. And I have frame increments here, and so what I could do is I could literally say, well, hold this first frame for, you know, X number of frames, and then increment, you know, for, you know, skip X number of times. So it holds the first frame for a certain amount of time, then it would jump to, you know, if I set the interval to, I think it's 10. Believe this is how it works. I actually didn't test it beforehand, but if I that would mean if I went to frame 10 here, so if I go to frame 10, we can see that on frame 10, all right, it's held it for frame 10, so we actually go to frame 11. So on frame 11 we would draw our next one, and blah, let's just say it was that. So here's frame 11, and it's going to skip. So now if we go back in time, all right, okay, let's see what happens here. We go here, here's frame 1. Oh, it says frame 2. Oh, that's not good. All right, let's try that again. I thought that worked. Yes, there we go. It's held frame 1. We can see it's held on frame 1, and then when it gets to frame 11, it switches to the new frame 11 one. So it's incrementing in, so you would have to do your frames that way. That's how you get it to stay for certain intervals. But it's still all hand-drawn. And so this is not the way we want to go about doing it. All right, so we don't need the frame hold node, and nor do we want all these strokes and so forth, because they're not going to do what we wanted them to do. So, by the way, don't hit these minus buttons down here. You will hate yourself at the end. What you want to do, if you hit the minus button on down here, you actually it eliminates it, and then Natron doesn't want to give you a new stroke afterwards. So, for right now, I don't like. I avoid doing that. Don't do it. So how are we gonna, we'll actually leave brush 5 until we've made another stroke. What we want to do is actually, we want to use the pencil tool. All right. And there's going to be another difference between Natron and Nuke, on this respect. What we're going to do is we're going to actually draw, we're just going to draw vector points. We're going to click here, click up here, click down here, click up here. Much easier to do, much faster to do. And also it means that when we go over here and after we're done, and we start pulling on these points, it will, you know, update and draw it, and we can click on a plus here. We can click a plus there to pull the point around, and we might put a point plus over here and hit plus there, and then we can pull these points around, get this up in size so that it's up to like 35, set the hardness to, you know, 8.8, obviously 0.8. There we go. I think 35 may not be quite big enough for this particular effect. I think I did use a smaller font in the past. So in order for this to work, the first thing we have to establish is, in order for this to work, the brushstroke here has to be bigger than our actual font itself. If any of the font is showing through our brushstroke, this effect is going to clip this, and we're going to lose that outside portion. So we need to make this obviously bigger than it currently is. So let's take it up even further. Let's just bring this up to like 40. Let's bring it, keep going up. There we go. We're around 46 it looks like it has enveloped this stroke has enveloped the entire font at the widest points of the font. So there we go. So this stroke has encompassed it, and I can also take this. Now, this is another problem, is that we can't really view the stroke at the same time without, taking the stroke and dimming it down. So we could, push this off to the side. Honestly, the way I like to do it, I don't think you should do the reveal using, rotor nodes, and we'll see why, or not in chain. We don't want to have it in series. What instead we want to do is we actually want to take this and disconnect it, and we want to put a merge node here, and we're actually going to use the text node as our B input and the rotor node as our A input. And this will be actually become clear in a few minutes, but the big advantage at this point is it means that we can mix this down so we can actually see through and sort of see the rotor node with the font behind it a little bit better, to ensure that we're definitely encompassing the entire font inside of this, which we're doing a pretty good job. It might be a little bit close there, might take this up one more notch. 8, that's weird. It's weird that it's jumping around in size. We'll put it up to 50 just to ensure that we're safe. Now, some of you are going, what in the heck are we doing here? Why is he doing all this? Doesn't make any sense. What we're going to be doing is actually pretty simple. It's a really simple effect. But before we do, let's get rid of that brush stroke, because we don't want that other brush stroke. We're going to keep the pencil tool here. And what we're going to do is pretty simple. We're going to, all right, let's first of all bring our mix node back up to 1, so that we're viewing it over. And instead of using a merge over, what we're going to do is change it from merge over to merge in. And what this is going to do is it's only going to reveal the text that is inside of our roto. Okay, so what this means is at this point, if we take our endpoint and we set it to 0, it disappears. And as we bring this up in time, we can see that the font slowly reveals itself. So that is actually how it's done. So all we have to do is basically keyframe this. This sounds easy. It sounds like we're good to go, right? Very easy. There's a problem here, and I'm going to show you. It doesn't show up if we're just doing a single letter, but there's actually a problem here, and it actually has to do with, well, all right, at least it has been a problem for me. We'll see if Natron is going to agree. If it doesn't, we're going to shoot Natron. On forewarning, everybody. All right, let's first go back to our merge node, switch this back to over for the moment. And we'll drop it back down to 0.5 so we can see through it. All right. Actually, we're going to drop it down a bit more. That doesn't look like nearly as. There we go. We want to be able to actually see the font through through our Roto Paint. All right. So what happens when we want to do the next letter? All right, let's click off of this. We'll do the exact same thing. We were doing this with the previous ones, right? We started off, we were on the pen tool. We went up, we clicked up here, which should deselect it. And then we click back on our pen tool to draw a brand new stroke. And we click on the A, and what just happened? It continued our pencil from the previous stroke to the new letter. And that's the problem. That is where we can't, it's actually a double problem, because what it means is that we can't create more than one open-end stroke. And this isn't entirely true, because we actually can create multiple open-ended strokes, but we can't make open-ended strokes that are that have brushes applied to them. And I'll show you what I mean. I just want to cover this because it's important that we all understand what's going on here. And when I say that there are ways of doing this, I want to prove that there is a way. Let's make a second stroke. Let's prove it. I said there was. Well, let's make another open-ended stroke. We'll go here. We'll just use the Bezier tool. We'll go here and I'll click. Oh, wait a minute. The Bezier tool didn't work. Okay, why not? Well, let's go up here. Let's try something totally different. Let's use an ellipse node. All right, or an ellipse. An ellipse. My language is off today. We make an ellipse, all right? You say, oh, but that's a that's a closed thing. Well, under here, under the plus, we have this option to open and close. If I open and close and I click on that, I've just turned it into a second thing. You say, aha, we've tricked Natron, we've proven it. Aha, Natron, haha, we're special. We are gonna override what you thought we were gonna do. And then we go up here and we look at the stroke, and we can't do a stroke because, unfortunately, the ellipse is still seen as an ellipse by Natron. It's still seen as a closed shape. This is not seen as a strokeable thing because it's not a pencil style stroke. So that is why we can't actually create multiple strokes inside of Natron, or inside of one one particular unit. All right, and you say to yourself, oh well, oh wait a minute, Bill, we say if we have the ellipse selected, what happens if we hit the pen tool and then we draw on this from here? Aha, the pen tool's drawing, but we still don't get our paintbrush. All right, well, what if we go up here and then go back to it and then drop? Nope, that doesn't work as well. We can see this isn't going to work. All right, so we select this, we hit the delete key. You'll notice it says I'll hit the delete key. I did not hit this minus button there. Minus button, bad. Do not, especially on your last layer, don't do it, or you're not going to be able to, or there's a high probability you're not going to be able to add a new layer into your Roto node. All right. So how do we overcome this limitation? Well, it's simple. It's actually really simple. What we want to do is add a merge node, and we simply just take our Roto node and we'll copy it, just like that. And we'll take the A input and put it over here. And then we say to ourselves, okay, well, you put the A input over here. We'll pull up that Roto, and we're going to select that one. And I'm just going to hit the delete button. I'm going to hit the delete button on it, select it, hit delete button, and then click on, go over here and go to the pen tool, which we have to reselect. And now I'm going to just go over here and I'm going to start tracing the site. Now, this is a much more complex character than the original one, but we can still do it pretty simply by just, you know, we'll start off. I'm assuming we're going to start by drawing up somewhere up at the top of this. So I'm going to click like here. And I'm going to go like that, and then I'm going to go somewhere down here, and then I'm going to go up, and I'm not going to get too close, because it'll close the font or close the line, and then we'll get a problem. So I want to get it down here somewhere. I'm going to click there, then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to pull a curve. Then I'm going to actually, in this situation, I think instead of, this looks like it actually ends here, but for the sake of ours, I actually am going to continue this as if it were written in cursive, so that it goes all the way up to the top of the T. And we're going to just do a point there, and then we're going to bring this down, and here we're going to have a little curve, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to end it with a straight point like that. And once we've got the curve, you know, made, all we have to do is go back and adjust our points. So I go back here and I adjust this around, and I'll say to myself, okay, poor Bill, let's see. Yeah, you know what? I think it might be better to just go over here and add a plus to there, and maybe a plus over here, and then we'll try just adjusting those. All right, we go like that, and then we'll pull it back, you know, and start adjusting this up and down until we get something that actually fits our font. And we can see, by the way, you'll notice that I drew out a handle. It makes it easier to draw this like so. You can just, you know, bring this up, and we can line that up so that the two bits overlap, and then we pull this over, and then I go like so, and I'll, you know, I just need to get it so that it envelops the entire thing. All right, just like so. And let's make sure this is a bit brighter by bringing the mix value here. We'll set this back to 1 so that we actually see it over the other, and that way we can ensure that it's going to be on top of it. In fact, you know what? I think we're going to change the color temporarily so that the Natron in the background stands out a bit more. So we're going back to our text layer. Let's go down here and change, first of all, let's change our, oh, well, it's all one and the same. Let's set this back up to 1, but then change it so that it's just red. So we'll turn off the green and we'll turn off the blue. So it's just red. All right, so now we ought to really be able to tell if we're blocking it out, because the red's very visible. Red's very easy to see. So, but the problem, of course, is that with these Roto Paints is that, of course, we have to change the settings of the stroke for every single one of these roto nodes every time we make a new roto node. So we'll put this up. I think, you know what, let's just keep it. We'll just increase the 10s, and we'll do 55, and then we'll change the brush hardness to 0.8. That way we can get it and just look and see, did it work? Does it cover it? Sure, that's good enough in my mod for what we need here. We'll see if it works. We can always pull it back, adjust it later. We're gonna go with it, and this is gonna work. Don't worry. We're gonna fix any of the errors in a little bit. So okay, so that's where the next one does. It's encompassing it. It's good, but we should, to be honest, keep the brushstroke the same size on all of them. So we're going to change the first one back to 55 as well. That way, all of them will be nice and easy to get to 55, because it's just moving up the tens digit. All right. So let's again copy this by hitting Alt-C, and then we just take that and we put that into A2, and that's going to be our next stroke. So we double click on that, get that one, select this pencil, hit the delete key, do not hit the minus, go over here, change our pencil tool to the, our solid paintbrush tool to our pencil tool, and we're going to just click here, and then we're going to click over here, and then we're going to go, the red does make it a bit hard to see our stroke. Well, all right, we may change that to blue instead, or green. We'll click down here, and then we'll click up here. All right, and let's go back and change our roto color, or our text color. Let's just temporarily change that so that instead of being red, drop the red away. We'll set it so it's green. Green's very visible as well, and red stands out very well on top of it. So then when we go back to our Roto Paint, now we can see our red curve. Right, so let's just continue this. Now, sorry guys, this is live, so for me to do this, I'm going to actually have to do this live, every bit of this stroke. If this were pre-recorded, we could just, you know, skip ahead a wee bit, but I don't do these pre-recorded, which is why these are so long. Whoops, excuse me. Yes, they do appear on YouTube, but I try to keep them for the most part in their original form so that they appear as they did on Facebook, because it's meant to be an archiving system. So bear with me as I do this. This shouldn't take too long to stroke these. Let's bring the pencil stroke. Let's make that the hardness 80.8. I mean, we could make it 1, all right, but then we'll have an alias to edge, and it makes it harder. I mean, makes, you know, doing the next part even harder than it is. So, but for right now, we're going to make this 55, and that should work. And then we'll duplicate this one more time. We're only going to do one more time because we want to keep this nice and simple. We'll take A3, connect it in, double click on that one so it's up here. We'll just select this pencil. We'll hit delete on the keyboard. To get rid of the pencil, we'll go over here to, uh-oh, did I get rid of the wrong one? Okay. Just so you know, it didn't register my double click on that one, so we're going to keep that up there. That one happens to be that one. It's this one that we want because this is our new one. I was looking at it going, that's weird. We want to click on this. We don't have to redo it, but yeah, we'll see. We're going to try and draw, and yes, it's going to give us some lip here. Doggone it. Let's see if if we can get it to work. Nope. And that's the problem. So this particular one, what happened is I deleted the stroke and it was on the pen tool, and now it's registering that there was a pen tool there. So we've lost this particular roto node. This is one of the problems, as I say, with Natron. Yeah, we'll call that a Canon-worthy one. Whoa, shame on you, Natron. Take that. We don't need that. We don't need that. All right. So how do we do that? Let's take the one that actually we didn't. This one right here, where we didn't delete it. We're just gonna hit Alt-C again, copy that one, and pull that one in. It's a little tricky, but it's not hard. So now with this, we just select that. We hit Delete on it. We go back to the pencil tool. Notice it's on the draw using a solid paintbrush. Actually, you know what? I just want to see something here. It says draw using the pen. Draw using the pen. That's not a pen, that's a pencil. I thought there was a point where it said pen. That says, I've said that in the past. Anyway, we want to switch to the pencil tool, which is actually the pen tool. Anyway, sorry, just semantics, getting the text right. So we're going to click up here. We're going to pull out a little bit, draw down here. We'll just do something like that. Go back up. Again, don't get too... Oh, wait a minute. I don't want that one. I'm going to hit back. All right, so I hit delete and it's done that. Will it draw? See, we just click again and it will continue where we were, but it's not going to update until we're done and we start pulling things around. All right, so then we're gonna pull this like that. We're gonna click up there one time. We're gonna click down here. Then we're gonna do a slight thing because there's a bit of a curve there. Then we're gonna do a little bit of curve here, and we're gonna click there. All right, so now we're gonna start pulling things around, try and adjust. Hopefully this will go quick. We need to obviously add a couple points. Let's add a point here. Let's add a point there. I think we're going to want a point there. We might want a point there. And I definitely think we're going to want a point there. All right. So we just take that and pull that up like so. Bring this down. Try and get it sort of centered. Pull that back a little bit so that it's not quite so long. There we go. Pull this up so that it's pretty much touching the beginning. Go back here, pull this around. Let's try and pull that like that. Yeah, that ought to work. Over here, what we want to do is take the tail end of this particular one, pull it over like so. So it's pretty much, I'm trying to line this up so that the stroke, we can see that the stroke goes more or less down the center of these path, or the path goes down the center of these strokes. That's why I have it, like it is. That looks pretty good there. This one we want to pull up a little bit so that it's more centered, right about there. This part here looks like it's favoring the tail. So what we're going to do is pull this back like that, maybe. Let's see, like so. Pull this over like that. I don't know. Let's see. Pull that back like that. Actually, I don't like that. I want to have it more like so. Pull that back like that. Pull that in. Shrink it. Yeah. Right like that. I think that looks good. And then over here for the last one, we're going to pull this like so. Right like that. All right. So there we go. Let's go to our stroke. Again, set the stroke to 55. Take our hardness up to 0.8. Uh-oh, we have a problem over there. 8. Oh, we don't have a problem over there. It looked like it was going to be a problem. Pull that up just a smidge. That looks good. All right. So there we go. Now we have our Natron surrounding it so that we can do our reveal. And what this means is that now we have to do our animation. Now we want to actually do the reveal. All right, let's set this back, change this merge node from over back to in. And when we set it to in, we see we have our text completely written out, and it's nice and easy to see. And all we have to do now is animate our strokes. So let's go back to our first one, double click on this, and take our end and bring it down to 0. All right, now we have to figure out our timing. And it's going to be up to each individual how long this is going to take. In the original one that I did, I spent about a half or about a second per letter to draw it out, and it seemed a little bit slow. So we're going to actually double it for this, just to make it render faster or write faster. So what we're going to actually do is change this. Instead of 24, which I usually operate, we're going to do increments of 12, and we're going to double click on this twice to go out 1 second. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to set a key on the end of this so that it at 1 second out it's 0, because that 1 second we wanted to start drawing that first letter. We're not worried about any of the other letters. We're only worried about this first letter. We'll deal with the other ones when we get to them. Now, to draw this out, or what I said was half a second. Well, we're doing 24 frames a second, or in PAL you can do it 25, but it's the same. We go 12 frames out. All right, let's set this to 1. That's how fast we're going to make it draw. All right, so if we go back in time, we can see exactly how long that takes to draw. And there we go. That's what it sort of looks like. Let's see. In actuality, we're going to just buffer this back. There we go. That's how long it's going to take to draw it, which is I think that's a much better pace. All right. The problem, of course, is that at the end of the letter, we have to pick up the pencil or pen, whatever we're writing with, and then move it to a new location and then draw down again, or start drawing again. So how long does that take? I felt like picking it up took about half as long as it takes to draw the letter, because you have to pick it off the paper and then move it over, then push it back down. So in this case, we'll go back. You go back to our last frame, which was here. Okay. So this is where we ended. So we want to start drawing the next letter at this point. All right, well, we want to go 6 frames. So we'll change our thing to 6. And now we're just going to double click or click on this once. And, I don't know if, well, we'll see. We're going to try it at 6 frames. We may have to offset this in time. So we'll do it half as long as it takes to draw. Every time it feels like there's less time. Anyway, we double click on stroke number 2, and it's just repeating the same thing. We're going to take this. At this point, we're going to set it to 0. We're going to say set a key. All right. And then we're going to go out. We're going to just click on 6 twice, 1, 2, which takes us out 12 frames. And we're going to set this to, oh yes, and it's 1 second per full letter. So in this case, we have 2 connected letters. We have A, and then we have T. It's half a second per full letter. So A is going to take half a second, and the T is going to take half a second. So we want to take we've gone out half a second, which is 12 frames, and then we're going to click another. Actually, we're going to click out half of that, 6 more frames, to do the end of the T, because the T, we're going to be picking it up and then we're going to do a stroke. So that's going to be basically about 2 or 2.5 times of regular letter. So we have to pick it up and then do our stroke. So we only go for the swoosh part. That's only going to take half of the time that the full A took to draw. So we're going to go out here. We're going to set that to 1. And it looks a little funny to me, but that's all right. There we go. So then we're going to go forward 6 frames, and then we're going to move to our next letter. And for our next part, which is the end of the T and the R. All right. So we've gone out 6 frames, and we're going to tell it that on this one, we'll set it to 0. Let's make sure we did that. Let's go back. Yes, there we go. All right, so we're 6 frames out. We're going to set here, not opacity. Did I do opacity? Did I keyframe opacity? Oh, fudge. Don't tell me I did the wrong thing. No, I did do the stroke. Phew. Got all nervous here. Oi. All right, so let's see. We've gone back in time. Here we go. All right, so we're here at frame 67. We want to go to write the stroke. We want to take the end of the stroke. We're going to set that to 0. I'm going to set a key. All right. And then we're going to go forward. Let's see. All right. So remember, we're doing the end of the T is half a letter because it's half of the T. So we're going to go 6 frames for that. That gets us to the end of the R. Then we're going to do 1 second or 2 clicks for the R. So we go 6 and another 6 for the R. And then we want to, at that point, set our end to 1. This is to keep, again, keeping our pacing. We've kept our pacing. We should, hopefully, this will draw by that point. And then we're going to say we're going to pick it up at this point. So we're going to go ahead 6 frames, and we're going to move over to the O and the N. So we double click on the O and the N, pull that up, and we make sure we're on the right thing. Part. We go over here to the end, and we're going to set that to 0, set a key because we already moved 6 frames out. Just prove it. We go back. This hasn't changed, so we know it's there. All right, so we're 6 frames out, frame 91. We're going to go 1, 2 for the O, and then another 1, 2 for the N. And that should get us to the end of the N. And so we hit 1 there. And now, if we back this entire thing up and we hit play, this should, in theory, if everything works right, write our letters just as if we were writing this, but we might notice some flaws here. And actually, this is the area that the Nuke tutorial sort of left out with this. I mean, this works. We're writing it, and it's probably, at the speed we're writing it, it probably won't come up as wrong to anybody. But the fact is, let's watch this in real time. As we can see, it doesn't look too bad in most places. It looks, we don't notice the flaw except for at that T. But when we look at the T, we definitely see a problem with the T. Actually, I don't care about the errors on the other parts. It's only that T. The T looks bad. And why does it look bad? What do I mean by it looks bad? What the problem with this technique is of course, or what looks like a problem, is that when we get up to this point where it reveals a piece that's going in a different direction or a piece that crosses over in the case of the T, it draws up the stroke up, but we see the bit that's going in the other direction when it gets revealed. So when we get over here to this T and it's hanging there because the stroke isn't moving very quickly, we see it looks like it's already pre-crossed. So it looks wrong. It doesn't look like it's actually drawn it. It looks like it revealed the piece of it as opposed to handwriting it. So how can we fix that? And that comes down to the next technique, or the next half of this. And we could do this, by the way, we could do this for every single letter on this, but in the name of saving ourselves trouble, I actually did that for the original one because it was so much slower. We're not going to do it for every single one. We're going to do it for just one. And there's 2 ways we could do this. We could either we're going to actually use a roto to eliminate the extra bits. And we could either do it in a single roto, or honestly, in my opinion, it's easier to manage from a management standpoint, even though it's a little more complex, or a little more, it's a little more complex because you are dealing with multiple rotos. You can actually do this part in a single node, but in doing so, you're going to be dealing with a whole lot of layers, and then I recommend that if you do it in a single node, that you name your layers, because you're going to be actually stacking multiple layers for multiple text pieces. Whereas if you do it per branch, it actually makes your project a lot more identifiable and easier to manage visually, because you know if there's a problem, you know what section or which particular one. So I'm actually not going to put what we would do if we wanted to do it after, is we would put a merge node basically what we would do is we'd add a merge node after this, and then we would put a roto node out here and deal with it. But instead, what we're going to do is do it on the individual branch that is handling the T, which, as we know at this point, should be, it's actually the problem, even though this part here is the T stroke going across, this is actually a pro for this particular effect. Well, doing it this way is actually going to be beneficial because we actually don't have to deal with extra revealing that we would have to do if we did it afterwards. And I'll show you what I mean. Watch this. Okay, well, this is our branch that is actually drawing this A in the first part of the T that has the error where it's revealing the parts that we don't want. Whereas this branch over here is actually doing the stroke of the T and the R. Well, we want to keep this reveal here, so we don't actually have to deal with like the reveal in our cleanup by doing it where we're going to be doing it. We'll go over to this branch over here, and we're going to do our merge right here. And then we're going to put a roto, just a straight roto, not a roto draw, roto, okay, or roto paint, excuse me. We're doing a roto versus roto paint. We're going to take that roto and we're going to connect it in here. And then for this roto, what we're going to be doing is creating what I call the lozenges, basically. We're going to be doing all these deformed lozenges. They're basically 4 points that we're going to use to sort of round things out. And you might do more depending on the complexity of your font, but in 90% of the fonts out there, all you need is 4 points to do what we're going to do. So we're going to zoom in here, and we're gonna just go over it, and we're gonna use the Bezier tool. We're gonna click on this, okay, which is the Bezier tool. We're gonna click on that, make sure it's selected, and then what we're gonna do is get close to where there's an error in our font, and we're gonna basically just try and we're gonna put a point. We're gonna click our first point there. Actually, I did that wrong. I want to click a point and drag like so, and then I'm gonna click and drag on the other side of it. And then I'm going to come to a point somewhere beyond the edge of it, and I'm going to click and drag in the opposite direction. And then I'm going to click and drag in the opposite direction, and then I'm going to click on the first point again. All right? And then we create an enclosed shape that acts as a mask, because that's what rotos do. Rotos versus Roto Paint only deal with alpha. So what we're doing is we're modifying the alpha channel right here so that it clips out or puts a hole basically in this branch so that no longer shows up. And now all we have to do is adjust this so that it fits. And we do that simply by just, well, bringing this visually down or adjusting this in until it lines up. So what I like to do is I like to just bring it in like that, so it's nice and close. Bring this in nice and close like so, and it gets close enough where it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, just so people are aware. It does not, again, does not have to be 100% perfect. Right there, right what I just did, looks good enough for what we're going to need to do. So that's the first part, but we have a problem over here, and we actually have more than one problem. It looks like we have one problem, but we actually have 2 problems, and we're going to need 2 more strokes, or at least 2 more strokes, and I'll show you what I mean. If we follow the drawing of this, okay, let's go back in time to where it's actually drawing this stroke out. Here we go. Here's where it's drawing. Let's look at how this draws. If we frame through this one frame at a time, we come up here and we watch this. Here's where it's going to draw the T. So it goes up, it draws up, and it does the reveal here. So we can see the reveal here, right here, we have a problem. It has this branch which is coming down from it. And this, by the way, is the problem we would have to deal with from, if we had done it for the whole thing, we would have to do what we're about to do here for everything, which means would have to be 3 strokes for situations like this next part for every single time this occurs. All right, so watch what happens here. We have this stroke that's coming down. This is an error. Now, this isn't necessarily visible at this point because we're still moving fast. But then it comes up here. So we have the stroke where this should be going straight up this way and not down. We need to make it so that this happens quick and not noticeably, and it looks like it's a continuation of the stroke in some way. All right, so that this here, let's just deal with it. So we have to fix this point first, because this is an error and this is going to show up. So we need to deal with it. We would have to deal with it for every branch. All right, so how do we deal with this? We're going to go over here. We're going to hit, plus, we're going to hit the add a Bezier. We're going to just sit here and we're going to go, again, a Losion. It doesn't matter which direction we start. We're going to just click here and drag this way. I'm going to go up here, drag like this. I'm going to come down, drag like that. Come down, drag like this. And then click into that point. And you say to yourself, that's not very useful. It doesn't look accurate. It's not accurate, in fact. But hopefully this effect will go. Now we can do this more accurately. You can get more accurate than this Losion if you want. But in all honesty, most people are not going to see it. But I will show you how we can just keep to this Losion shape and work with it. So select, make sure you've picked this and use the straight. By the way, I accidentally changed it. Make sure you're using the select all tool. We're going to collect that. We're going to bring it in. Then we're going to bring this down and make sure. Okay, so here's the thing. This Losion shape, we can see here that this sort of curves up just before it cuts under, which is why this is technically probably would be 2 strokes. If we want to, we can, well, let's just try and keep that look. Let's try and keep that stroke look. Let's pull this down so that it's more along the lines of the actual stroke. Let's try to line it up first so that it's following the stroke value or the stroke shape there. So there we go. We have something that sort of strokes out and then it naturally flows back because of what we did. And if you don't think that flows back properly, well, we could always just, you know, bring it up like this. But I don't recommend taking it too far because, in my opinion, you're better off keeping it here like this if you want to keep it simple, because we're going to be coming down and doing the next part and doing the next part of the reveal in a few seconds after this. So it's probably not going to be seen, but this at least gets it so that it looks close enough. All right, so this is how the reveal for this part would work, or you could keep it the original Losion, you know, the Losion shape that I showed. So then we got to go forward in time. All right, let's find where. Now the problem is that the stroke that's coming down at this point, when it comes down under here, we need to be able to see this without this being visible. So for the moment, we're going to just disable Bezier 2 and watch until this actually starts to draw. So let's go forward in time, and there we go. Here's where it's drawing, and it's drawn this next error. And you're saying to yourself, oh, well, poor Bill, that error is dealt with over here, but it isn't because we've created a hole in our font over here. So this is why we need 2 pieces. We've created a hole in this, so we have to do a second one that is after this piece down here has drawn itself. All right, so how do we do this? We're going to hide this because we don't need it for this next lozenge. So we're going to go here, and all we do is zoom in, and we're going to just, oops, not use the plus tool. I keep hitting that plus tool. We want to use the Bezier tool. We're going to just click and drag up, click and drag down, click and drag down, click and drag up. Again, doesn't have to be super accurate. In fact, we're going to make this one, we're going to just keep this one right like it is. It's very quick. Actually, no, this one, all right, this one, because it's hanging, I think we should do it a little, we should kind of keep this one a little more accurate, because people are going to be staring at it for long enough that they might say, that doesn't look quite right. But there we go. That should be close enough in stroke value that that by the time it reveals that it ought to work. All we're doing is we're hiding those dangly bits so that it reveals. All right, so we have the 3 pieces that make this up. All right, this clip to make it so that it looks like it draws this correctly. So how do we make this so that it animates? Well, all right, let's turn off the other 2 and deal with this one at a time. Let's go over here. Let's back. What we have to do is we have to go back in time, and we want to find the point. Let's turn this off for the moment. We want to find the point where that reveals itself. All right. So, right, or the point. Let me think. Actually, in this particular one, no, we don't actually have to. For this first one, nothing needs. This does not have to be hidden, so we can just keep this one on. This one can stay on. We don't have to animate this particular stroke, or this particular mask, because the stroke that comes after it is coming. The one that's going to cross over it is actually going to happen down here. All right. So we don't have to do anything more. We can just leave that in until the stroke draws. And, oh, that's actually not true. I take it back. We do have to do a reveal. We want to do it when the other stroke starts showing up. All right, let me show. When does that stroke show up? There we go. All right, so here is where that stroke shows up. So we can see that stroke. This stroke starts right here. So what we want to do is show our stroke. This is what it should look like. And actually, we probably want stroke 3 as well. We want those two on. These two are going to basically disappear. This is the point where these two are going to disappear. Watch what happens here. We're going to move forward. Now, when this moves in at this point, this T crosses over. This is not guaranteed at this point to be what the font actually looks like. And we want the font to look like it should. So let's unhide that. And I don't know if anybody can see that, but there actually is a little bit of a change right here. It's just a very subtle thing. Well, actually, it isn't. All right, I take it back. Sometimes it is a subtle thing, and sometimes it isn't. Let's see if we keep going forward and looking at the other one. Does this one reveal? You know what? I think we don't need to do much about it. We're not going to worry about that bit. Well, all right. We should do it just because it's good practice and it's good effort, and we're going to be doing it anyway for the other one. So how is this going to work? It's simple. What we do is we go back to the point. We find the point right before, actually, we want both of those. We find the point right before or right where that point is going to draw itself. All right. So we just keep going forward. We say here, here. That's where it's drawn. All right. That is where this particular piece, at this point, this mask is no longer needed. So what we're going to do is, for the opacity of this mask at this point in time, we're going to just right click on the opacity for this mask. Make sure you have the right Bezier selected, which is this one. We can see the points are selected. We select it. We right click in it. We hit set a key. All right. We set a key. We go back one frame and we set the opacity to 0. All right. Or actually, no, we set it to 1. Sorry. We set it to 1 and then we go forward and we set it to 0. So at this point, that should no longer be in existence. All right. This mask is no longer needed at that point because the stroke that's going through that spot has drawn itself. So we don't need the mask. So because we're seeing the actual full font. Now we need the point to do the same for Bezier 3. So we go forward in time. Here's the point where it is. So we say Bezier 3. We simply go up here. In fact, let's do it correctly. We set the Bezier 3 to 0. So just to show you what I mean by this is here, we can still see it. So when we go up here, we're going to set a keyframe with it at 0. We go back one frame and we can see that it's a problem. So we want to set that back to 1, and then it's not a problem. So now it turns itself off when that stroke draws through there, and the font draws as usual. All right. So that should fix the two sides of the T. Now we need to deal with the Bezier over here, where it's with the Bezier number 2. All right, so Bezier number 2 is going to be back here where the T is drawing. Let's go back here, this point. All right, so right there is where the font draws, in my opinion. I don't want to get right here. Yeah, it's drawing right there. We could do that. In fact, you know what? Let's deal with it. That means we would, if we want to do that technically, because I don't know if everybody can see it properly. Right here, see this little blurb right there? That doesn't exist in the frame prior to it. So that means it's actually drawing at this frame, which means if we were to do this 100% correctly, we would have to draw through that and mask that out at that point, which means an extra thing. Is it worth it? I did it in my other one, in the demo one, but do we need it in this example? Probably not. I think we can get away without it. So let's pull this up. Let's keep it. Actually, no, I'll take it back, because we do create this. Yeah, because this has got like this. All right. We should do a double reveal. I'll take it back. It's only because this is a huge chunk that gets drawn in right here, between here and here. Look at all that gets drawn in. That's a massive amount of drawing time. And if we go that one extra frame, we're adding this on top of it. So what we're going to do is make this a two-parter. All right. So what we're going to actually do, here's how we deal with this. All right. So we go back here. We're going to go back to this point. This is going to be what we're going to call our draw point. And then we're going to go back one frame prior to it. And this is the frame that we're actually going to be, that it is basically going to be solid. So we are at this point going to full Bezier Tool. We're going to make sure it's visible. We can just take its opacity, set a keyframe here. We go forward a frame, one frame, and we're going to set its opacity to 0. And when we do that, it reveals this sort of half-broken thing, and then the frame after it, it draws the next part. So that it looks like it's drawn in 2 frames, that chunk of it. Now, admittedly, the stroke changes a bit there. You could draw in, if you really want to, you could draw in you could add a new Bezier stroke, but that means you would have to actually color that particular stroke and give it actually give these things color. And in my opinion, you'd want to do that in a separate roto, which is a pain in the butt. Don't recommend it. So there we go. Do we need it? Let's find out. Let's rewind this entire thing and watch this full screen. Let's actually look at this at full size. We're going to redraw this from the beginning. Animate this all the way out, because this isn't really that complex. And as I said at the beginning of this, the 90% of this, the whole point of this tutorial is really to get this effect across and see if it works. And we're going to ignore those extra bits. We can see it's actually happening here with the O and at the corner of the N and stuff. But the question is are those actually, at the speed this is going to draw, are those actually noticeable? And one could argue it's really not. It really looks like it's drawing. It doesn't look like it really does it. It's not as noticeable as that T was. But we fixed that T problem. Now it looks like the T is properly being drawn. If you wanted to fix the other ones, you'd have to add a similar thing to those. But that is how we go about making a font basically draw itself. And we could go in and do all the coloring on top of this if people wanted. Do whatever. I just did the thing at the beginning because, that's the way it is. And we are basically done with it. All that would be done is basically adding here. I'm going to just show you where we would do this. Oh, yes, it does raise a question regarding alpha channels. We should look at the alpha channel because a lot of times the alpha channel, in this case, if we do the merge in here, I'm just trying to think how to describe this. Let's go down, let's go back in time to here. Let's go back here, right here. We can see that in the alpha channel, the A or the alphas of these exist at this point, whereas the other alphas don't exist here. So there is alpha at the beginning. This is actually a bit of a problem and needs to be dealt with during the font reveal. So we have to, just so we're aware, how do we fix it? How do we get rid of that blob of alpha here? And I think I did it with a, let me make sure I did it the way I think I did it. I'm double checking my thing, because even though I did this earlier today, sometimes these things don't. Where did I get rid of it? I think I got rid of it. Yes, I got rid of it in the next part, or at the next point. So this, as long as we keep the text black, it's not a problem. But we're not going to be we wouldn't be keeping this black. We're thinking that this is probably going to be an alpha channel. Now, if you're going to be doing this as a I'm just trying to think of the best way to tell you to get rid of this, because we want to basically keep this alpha on here, or this alpha trimming this out, but we don't. Oh wait, I think we can tell it that the A does not affect the alpha channel. There we go. Let's just see that. Did that, if we go back here to A, does that fix the problem? Does it draw? Aha! It draws. There we go. We fixed the problem, but we've created another problem. Right. So what I did there, just so people are aware, is that that A, where I'm telling it that I don't want A, even though I'm saying to merge in. Merge in says to use the white, the color channel as to draw whatever's coming in B inside of anything that's white, and not use it, the actual alpha channel as part of it. So the alpha channel from B, I think, is actually going through. Actually, it's not going through, because when we go to alpha channel, we don't have an alpha. So A, the alpha channel for this, is actually not coming through in this, and we can't really bring it into this, because we can't actually bring that alpha channel back, because it's being drawn. We can't use the text alpha channel. We have to recreate this alpha channel. So how do we recreate the alpha channel? Well, this is where what we want to do is we want to put to create that alpha channel so that it will overlay over something. We need to use a shuffle node. So we're going to put a shuffle node here, and we take the shuffle node, and what we do in the shuffle node is we simply tell it that the alpha channel, instead of using the B alpha channel, we're going to use the BR in this case, so that the alpha channel draws in at the same time. And now we can see that the alpha channel is drawing in just like, and we can actually see some alpha errors in there. I don't know if you've seen that. It looked a little weird to me. I hope that is, I think that was just a refreshed bug there. But it's important that we put that in and fix that alpha channel. Yeah, there we go. It's doing it correctly. So there we go. That is how you fix the alpha channel, so that it draws the text and retains the alpha channel so that it will go over. But of course, this is now not seen by Natron as pre-multiplied, or at least it may not be seen as pre-multiplied. Actually, maybe it will be. Let's try and put it over something. Let's go off the alpha channel. Let's put this over something. Let's actually give it a color. Let's multiply this. All right, let's multiply. Whoops, let's put a merge node. We're going to color the texts. By the way, you don't color your text before this. It's just like everything else. We're going to put a solid over here. Solid, because we want to do our solid. We're going to take our solid. We're going to just color it blue to keep it simple. Put it in here. Tell it that we're going to take that and we're going to do, whoops, we're going to do a change our merge. No, it's still doing the wrong thing. There we go. Double clicked it. We're going to merge it and we're going to multiply. There we go. So that is how we color it. But the question is does this now retain that alpha channel when we go to put it over something else? If we now want to superimpose this, is that alpha channel going to transfer with this? Let's find out. Let's put a merge node below this. Actually, we want to put this over something. Let's put this over a color just to be on the safe side. Or actually, let's put it now we'll put just a simple color. We'll put another solid in here. Set that solid to something other. We're going to do yellow because yellow and blue, contrasty colors, complements that. Whoa! All right, so we have a problem here. We can see that it hasn't fixed the problem. All right, that we're getting multiplication happening here. It has multiplied the alpha, so maybe what we need to do is clamp this. Let's try clamp. Clamp. Did that fix the problem? That did not fix the problem. Let's see, clamp to maximums. Nope, that's not going to fix the problem. What we need in this situation, let's see, let's think about this. Did we need this shuffle at all? What if we just took that and left it like that? Nope, that's still going to do it wrong. What would we do? How do we get this? I think what we need to do here is we need to tell it that we want this to have a pre-mult onto it. Let's try that. Pre-mult. Is this pre-multiplied? Nope, that doesn't solve the problem. All right. Wait a minute. No, definitely not pre-mult. Okay, let's try unpre-mult. Right? Nope. That's definitely not going to let us use it the way we want to. So we have a problem here where this is not going to work the way I had thought. All right, so how can we fix this? Let's see. We need to multiply our color. And to get our color, and then we want to, let's see, why is that not? We want to multiply it like so, and then we want to take the reveal out of this. We're basically going to route this around. We're going to color it so that the color channels come in, and then we're going to replace the alpha, if that makes sense. All right, let's see if that worked. All right, nope. Oh, yes, right. We need to set it so that now it's taking A, except for the alpha channel, which is going to be B. Or we could reverse it and just do the B. All right, so what this has done is it's now said that the alpha is coming from B, which is now, which it should be B, excuse me, BB. There we go. BB should be it. A, there we go. Let's see if that worked. It's still, oh, we're not doing it correctly. Boop, there, let's try it over. There we go. That fixes the problem. All right. So for people who don't know what I just did and are going, what did you just do? I just wanted to verify that this was actually how we were going to merge it correctly to get this, because I didn't actually do this. I did it a different way. But I want this to work the way people are familiar with doing stuff like this inside of Natron. What we did is we took the color, we basically colorize it, we take this, we colorize it here, then we pull it into a shuffle node, because in the shuffle node we're going to be replacing the existing alpha, which in this case, if we look at the alpha ahead of time back here, okay, there is no alpha basically at this point. The A here has no alpha channel. There is nothing. It's just pure color channel at this point. Before, we were shuffling in the alpha channel before this, and what was happening is the alpha channel was getting multiplied on top of it, which we could have fixed actually. Well, anyway, we were multiplying the alpha channel. No, if we had multiplied the alpha channel, basically the alpha channel would have gotten multiplied, and then it would have broken the effect, and everything would have been wrong. So what we're doing instead is we're multiplying it ahead of time to get the color, or just the color, and then we're bringing the alpha channel, or what we're going to be using, which is the red channel, which is black and white up here, we're bringing it around outside of it, sort of detouring around and bringing it into this. And what I had done, it really, here, let's do this the proper way. Let's actually pretend this was our color channel, all right? What we would do is we put the shuffle node after the merge, the merge node where we did the color. So we do a shuffle here, put the shuffle here, which means it would come into the B input, and then we would take the A input and connect it up here to the alpha, which is coming in from the side. And all we would do over here is we would say that instead of the B, using the B alpha channel, which is coming from over here in our multiply, we would go to the A, which is coming in from over here, and we, instead of the A alpha, we're using the AR, which is what our, if we look at the AR, we go over here, we look at it, AR, because it's black and white, is going to be whatever the drawn thing is. So we come over here, we look at it, we see blue text with A alpha channel, and that means that it is working correctly. It's already, it's compositing it, and it's not multiplying the alpha channel so that it blows out the blue into white like we were doing before. And so then what we wind up with is blue, which superimposes on top of our yellow background. So we wind up with actual blue text. Simple, obvious, hopefully simple and obvious math of compositing math, which is basically how it all works. So now if we do this, you know, this is awfully bright and awfully ugly, and I will not be posting it. And don't worry about those little like flecks that you're seeing here, the anti-aliasing over there. Don't worry about that. That's only because it's drawing in such a small size. It's basically so that we can, there we go. We see it. It's drawing. It's drawn. There we go. We've done it. We'll save this. So again, today's goal was to basically do this. And I think we've done that successfully. We've gone all over the issues. We created the rotos. We clipped out the parts that, you know, didn't belong in the strokes or dangled too long in the strokes, so they weren't visible, which could be applied to other areas that we didn't do for simplicity, timing purposes. Then we took the whole thing and brought it back in, realized that there was a problem because we couldn't remerge it with the original for alpha reasons, and then color it because it caused the bluing, or caused it to basically multiply the alpha. So we had to color it and then merge the alpha back in, and that way we had fully composited text, colorized, you know, whatever that the blue could have been anything. It didn't have to be blue. It could have been any color or combination of colors or textures. And then we remerged it with, gave it an alpha channel that is the that matches the thing, which is the drawing. And then we merged it over an actual background, which was the yellow. Or in the case of the other one, it was an FBM with, you know, texture in it, which is how it put. 1,000,001 ways to do the thing. We did it. So, thanks for watching. Keep on Natroning.